It's 5 o'clock. We'll call the Dunstable Select Board meeting to order on this day of August 13th. It's 5 o'clock. Pretty lengthy agenda tonight, but we're going to be starting with a dangerous dog hearing, followed by public comments, and then approval of the minutes for May 28th and July 16th, appointment for the Memorials and Monuments Committee, appointment of the Elderly and Disabled Taxation Fund Committee, bandstand railing replacement contract, a review of the personnel policy draft that has been put together, discussion on private signs on public property policy, fee increases, ARPA fund relocation for the Selectmen's newsletter and the town hall boiler repair, in the Neshoba Valley Medical Center emergency declaration, and the warrant for the state primary of 2024. So I guess we need to just jump into the dog hearing. And there is a pretty formal procedure that we need to follow regarding this. So with that, I will open the dangerous dog hearing.
I'll just read the notice. Notice is hereby given that under Mass General Law, Chapter 140, Section 157, Town Dunstable holds a dangerous dog hearing on Tuesday, August 13th, 5 p.m. Dunstable Town Hall, 511 Main Street, to determine whether the dog that resides at 139 off Pond Street is a nuisance or is dangerous. All interested persons are invited to attend, and we did notice abutters and the dog owner.
Okay. Next, the Animal Control Officer, Sue Lane, is to swear in his testimony.
All right. You ready for our hands? Do you swear the information you're about to provide is the truth, the entire truth, and nothing but the truth under penalty of perjury?
Yes.
Thank you. Next, we have two of the complainants here that need to be sworn in as well. Sharon Demers and Sean Pear.
They're not here.
Neither are here?
No.
The owner or representative of the dog, Mr. William Muldoon and or Trevor Kelly.
Yeah.
You can just raise your right hand. Do you swear the information you're about to provide is the truth, the entire truth, and nothing but the truth under penalty of perjury?
So help me God, yes.
What was that?
So help me God, yes.
Okay, now, is there anyone else in the audience that would like to comment? If so, you both need to be sworn in by Susan. Can we have your name, please?
Debbie Muldoon, the daughter of Bill Muldoon. I just moved and resided from Florida into the home right before the alleged incident. Okay, I'm a witness to it all.
Debbie, do you swear the information you're about to provide is the truth, the entire truth, and nothing but the truth under penalty of perjury?
I do.
Thanks.
And secondly,
I'm an abutter, and I've been taking Max to training.
okay, Matt, just your name for the record.
Oh, I'm sorry, Erica.
Erica, do you swear the information you're about to provide is the truth, the entire truth, and nothing but the truth under penalty of perjury? All right. Anybody else?
No.
Okay. I'll review the MGL and provide recommendations.
So if we want to have Animal Control Officer provide his summary first. Or do you want to provide a summary of the incidents as you know it and
There's just 3 incidents where I had to put a quarantine on Max. And still unclear exactly what provoked a couple of them. I know Max doesn't like other dogs walking in front of his house. Which dogs are going to do that, protect their own turf, which I get. I've never seen Max aggressive towards people. I've been close to him, patted him, he's good. And he does have an issue with a couple of dogs in the neighborhood that attacked him at a younger age. So he remembers that, so he'll go back to that, that fenced in area because they're barking at him to get at him. I get that, dogs will remember that. German Shepherds, they're smart dogs.
Very smart.
He is a good dog. He just needs to be controlled. And he goes up to Erica's house and plays with her dog.
That's why he's there to begin with. He goes to her.
We'll just we'll have your chance to speak. We'll just let John finish.
Without a problem, I've seen it. I mean, he's a good dog. And he plays with that dog, he just does not like these other two dogs, other pit bulls behind the stockade fence. And I don't know if he remembers, we tell these dogs, I think there was an incident back there in that one, but he doesn't like those two little dogs.
So we received a written complaint from Rotella and from Sharon
Demers.
and Sean Perry.
So there were several incidents that she refers to where her dog was attacked and was injured.
Yeah.
And I believe she said that she was bitten.
So John, you
It was
requested,
unclear whether she got bit by her dog.
okay, John, you requested the dangerous dog hearing. Why don't you inform the board of why?
Because it became a public safety issue, while one of the neighbors, pregnant, got knocked over by a scuffle on the road with Max. I think she got knocked over and the dog got bit. It just became a public safety issue. I just didn't want else getting hurt. I was hoping we just get to a conclusion of how to confine Max was good. Without having a dangerous dog label on the dog, we can just come up with our own conclusion, whether it be a kennel, a leash. I mean, they are responsible pet owners, it's just dogs get loose and that.
You see, he slips out the door once in a while behind my dad. He's 83 years old.
Needless to say, there's no leash law, so he can do it. But I understand what you're saying, and I'd like to add a few things to it.
Oh, absolutely, but the state of Massachusetts does require you to have control of your dog at all times.
And it has
Whether it's a leash law or not.
been since May.
Yes. So the dog has been being worked with. You bring it to a trainer.
I bring it to Erica, who's the one that actually took it to canine training right before I moved. She wanted to help my dad with the dog. And so when I moved here, I started going with her and taking that responsibility. So during that time period, the dog had been in canine training for obedience to learn, and have a letter here that I can show you guys from the canine company describing Max, saying that he is not aggressive, that he's just needs some training, and that's what we have him in. Okay, and I can provide you that letter at that time. You know?
I find that to be often the case. I mean, I've had dogs my entire life.
Now you add some
It's not,
things to it.
just in a moment. You know, I struggle with saying there is a dangerous dog. I don't like that term. I understand the implications of it. It often comes down to who is handling the dog. It seems to me I haven't met the dog, so I can't make any judgment on that. I'm going by, some written testimony, experiences explained by the animal control officer. If you were on the other side of this and it was your dog being attacked by another dog that is loose in the neighborhood, you would be very upset about it too. So obviously there's going to need to be something that is going to make sure that this dog is controlled at all times. And if he goes and plays with Erica's dog up the street, he should probably be brought there on a leash, not just let out to go run up and play with the
It doesn't
dog.
happen.
They don't let him out, it's when he sneaks out.
Can I hear a transcript?
So let me ask you, is your yard fenced in?
We have an area that is fenced in that Max does go in, yes. But
So
there is a front access in and out of this house that he can, if my dad is,
I think I need to say something, because I'm the
Yeah,
owner of the
yes,
dog.
okay.
Okay, everything's moving around away from me. I'm gonna move up closer, because I have
You
a
can't
hearing
hear.
impairment, okay? I've been a resident of off Bond Street for 27 years.
You can have a seat.
Sure. Thank you. at this point of 83 years old, things start to break down. But anyways, I've been a resident for 27 years, and Max is the third dog that I've had living and residing off Pond Street. Never has there been an issue, and I can honestly tell you, in hearts to heart, that Max is the most intelligent, most obedient, and the most friendly dog that there is, I ever had. The situation out of this is the fact that here is Max right here in my yard, riding my side-by-side. This is a picture of Max. Does he look like an angry dog? No. This is when he came in got stuck outside in a fenced area soaked. This is him riding with my family on my pontoon boat. He's just, you can do anything, put sunglasses on him or put a hat on him, and he just goes along with the flow. But most importantly, I've had people come onto my property, and I have a handyman that comes on, and he's been working with me. He had us arranged, and we fixed up the house for Debbie to move in with me from Florida. Now, this is my handyman. He's supposed to be here tonight, and he's afraid of dogs. But yet he goes over, and there's my fenced-in area. He puts his head in front of Max, and Max kisses him. Max loves to kiss. He is no one, particularly a guy that is afraid of dogs, would put his face in front of a dog. Now, let me tell you about the incidents that happened. My dog I raised my dog to be extremely friendly. I had him since he's been 8 weeks old. I brought him from my grandson, Trevor Kelly, who's been residing with me since he's been in the 5th grade. And basically, I bought it for Trevor because he graduated from Dunsmore High School in the class of 22, and he wanted a German Shepherd because I had a very well-known dog named Jesse that died 14 years being with me of cancer. So Max came with me at 8 weeks old, and I used to take him I wanted to socialize him, so I brought him to the mall, walked around every night at the mall, Ladderfield all the time, still takes him to Ladderfield, certainly off Pond Street, and there's never been an issue. And people would come up and say, oh, what a nice, friendly dog, and people would pat him, no issue. So he became socialized, and then we put him into the dog training program. Now, the incident happened is, the reason why I'm explaining this to you is that Max loves to play with dogs, okay? And if the neighbors all got together, they'd all confirm to say, Max loves to play with their dogs. There's one besides Sharon's dog, there's another dog that, I guess I'll name her Sheila, that lives 2 houses away from Sharon, and when I walk Max would play with her dog, and they'd have fun, the dogs would roll over and everything else like that. So in Max's head, he really thinks that dogs are friendly to him. But one day, Sheila was walking by my house. She has to walk by on the off Pond Street because I give the right of way on my property. And so Max runs, I was raking or doing something in the yard, and Max runs right over to play with her dog. And the dog has some type of a territorial situation with Sheila, and the dog bit Max right on the leg. And he hung on to the leg, and Max shed blood. I did get a hold of Dunstable Animal Clinic because I know that Max, being a shepherd, and he's, at that time, I think he was only 14 months old. Dunstable Animal Clinic, they were closing up and they couldn't take Max. But I have a neighbor, I don't know if Will Hayden sent you a note. He said he was going to send a note on that. He broke up the fight. And even in breaking up the fight, okay, he just pulled Max away, and I was helping him, and Max never even attempted to bite him. An angry dog would turn around and bite a person, pulling him away from a vicious fight. So you can say that those 2 times, it happened twice, Sheila walking, unfortunately, they have to walk on my property to move around. I give the right of way. But basically, that's a territorial. And so, basically that was it. Now, the other situation that happened, which is Sharon's dog, there's no proof that Max did this. I turned around and paid one day I'm in the house cooking, and Debbie told me that, hey, there's a guy named Sean, and I never met Sean before because he's sort of like a newcomer to the neighborhood living with Sharon. And he turns around and I go out and he turns around and he says, hey, here's a bill, $1,200, pay it. You're telling me to pay a bill? And this is my property. He's really almost like screaming at me. I'm 83 years old and he's yelling at me. My daughter witnessed it and she called it extortion, trying to force money on me. Anyways, after a week of this and that going back and forth, I said, I'm just going to give him the $1,200 just to shut it up and be a friendly neighbor. And basically then what happened was they give us another bill saying, oh, their dog had an infection. I said, time out. That's it. I'm not paying another $1,200 for the dog. To me, that indicates that they didn't take care of the dog properly when he gets an infection. But beyond that, I'm saying it's not an admission of guilt because there's no proof that Max turned around and did it. What he does do is he has a girlfriend, which is Erica's dog, and he loves that dog. And anytime he can get loose, he goes up and sits on Erica's porch. Just so happens that Sharon is next door. And they're pit bulls. They have 2 pit bulls are always fighting each other. How do I know the pit bulls didn't fight each other and cause that damage? And of course, this guy, Sean, who I don't know, is blaming me. So anyways, Debbie just wants to say her part of it and what she witnessed. And as I said, as far as fences, this is the fence that Max goes out. I have a doggy door on my porch, and he can go out into the yard, and he's trained to stay there, and he will not. The only way that Max will leave is if his storm door in my front of my house is unlocked. I leave that door locked all the time, the storm door on the porch, so anybody can open the door. But I can say this, I have people come on my property like National Grid. I have the Hefner Gas Company come on. They come right through the fence and they go and they do what they're doing on their servicing. And Max lets them into the gate, into the fence, and doesn't even touch them. He's people friendly. So the thing is the fact that the only way that he exits is either when we unlock the screen porch door, or I can go out through the side door, which is the side where my carport is. So in that in mind, as I said, I have National Grid come on, I have Hefner come on, I have a few people like Prime come on my property. It's never been an issue. I don't think that there's been any calls to the police department saying that there's an angry dog. Anyways, can I pass it on to Debbie?
Yeah, a quick question. So Muggsy, that's not one of the pit bulls up there. That's
No,
a beagle that,
Shayla and AJ's dog, Motel.
and that's who the incident.
Well,
Between-
John says there's 3 incidents.
Yeah,
Okay, Sheila's dog, what's the name, Futzy?
Muggsy.
Muggsy. When Sheila was walking the dog and coming onto my property, which is the right of way.
And he thought picked Max first, and Max.
Yeah, exactly. And then what happened, Max went over to play with Sheila's dog. And of course, the dog being close to Sheila, tagged Max and got him by the leg. And of course, Max defended himself in those 2 incidents. And
So these incidents all happened on your property?
excuse me?
No. Did they happen on your property?
Oh, the fight?
Yeah.
Yes.
Dad,
Yes.
not the pit bull, not with Sharon on this,
So can I actually speak for a second?
This is confusing.
Sure.
We're talking about Sheila.
So the first incident, I believe it was the first incident that you weren't there for.
Right.
I was actually the one who grabbed Max and got him away from the fence.
That was with Muggsy or? with
No,
the
this is the one with Sean and Sharon's dog. Muggsy I was not around for, I heard about it, did not
Okay,
see.
Sean, Sharon, Sheila, I'm getting confused.
I know.
No, but that's.
Sean and Sharon,
Yeah, yeah.
Sean and Sharon have the 2 pit bulls.
Okay, so Shayla has
There's a
Muggsy.
There's a
Correct.
letter from Shayla.
And those were the first 2 dog incidents that John mentioned. And I wanted to bring that in, that Max got
Okay,
bit, and then he defended himself.
okay, gotcha.
So I kind of got to go back a second, before the incidents with Sean and Sharon and the 2 pit bulls. I wasn't there for the Shayla incident, however, I had seen Max playing with Muggsy a couple months prior. It could have been an incident because Shayla was pregnant and Muggsy was feeling protective, I don't know, but I'd seen them playing before, there was no issue. But when Max came up to visit Nika, I happened to be inside in a meeting, so I didn't see him on the porch. He must have seen or heard the pit bulls barking, and I heard the commotion and came outside to pull him away from the fence. I couldn't understand how he could get his nose or face through that fence to find a dog.
So they were just having a
They were just barking at each
fight
other
through
through the
a
fence.
fence.
And I did sign him up for training and took him for training, and they do an eval.
Mhm.
And the owner brings in his dog, to see how they react to other dogs. Max clearly was excited, but not aggressive, and he said, this isn't an aggressive dog, it's an anxious dog, not an aggressive dog. Unfortunately, he likes to come visit Nika. My issue is, I just don't want anything to happen to Max. I don't think, like I said, he's not an aggressive dog. Yes, he gets loose. Yes, he may be a nuisance in some cases, but he's not an aggressive dog. He's not gonna bite a person. He's not gonna be the aggressor.
From what I've heard so far, that does not seem to be my takeaway is that he does not seem to be an aggressive dog, from what you're saying. I have dogs. Sometimes they tussle with each other. You know, my yard is entirely fenced in. There's no way they can get out if I open my front door. So that prevents a lot of situations.
So
I would highly recommend that you do that too.
So-
Because it seems like the times that this has happened, you know, even dogs are gonna react. What one dog bites one, the other one's they're gonna defend themselves. I think that's a normal
Kids do the
situation.
same thing. My brother punched me, I was gonna punch him back.
Yeah, I
Like,
mean,
it's just part of life.
put it this way, I think
whatever measures need to be taken to prevent that, if that means extending the fence to completely secure your yard,
Well,
so
he
he
is
can't
secure
slip
now.
out.
He doesn't leave the,
Well, he has, obviously.
well, he
But so-
did.
so
he did-
Sean, so
he
have
did
Sean
in
and
May.
Sharon's though, and
You know, because basically, when I go out in the yard and I'm working in the yard, as my other dogs were, he'd stick by me. The only issue is that he really likes Erica's dog and goes up to Erica's and sits
Well,
on.
but see, that's the issue there, is when he is leaving your custody, going up the street. You are not under control of the dog at that time. That's the problem. When he's with you and he's with people and, you know, and he's
All right, well, may I
playing,
say
that's fine.
that-
So,
Since I built this fence, because this is not the original fence I had, I mean, there's been no issues at all. He's been confined and he's very, very happy to stay in his pen. He's happy that when we put him on a leash, because I walk him at 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning, and I head down up Pond Street, and I get down Pond Street, do about 2 miles with him at that time. And then my daughter takes him for a walk at nighttime. And so he's very happy with that. And because I have 2 doggy doors, one to get out into the pen, and then another doggy door to go into my front door, he's in and out of the house all the time.
but if he should, so that's what I'm asking, is to have that, you don't want this to happen again. And if there is any opportunity for it to happen again, you need to nip that in the bud.
Well,
And
yeah,
I'm not saying he is, I mean, we're not making this decision, I'm not making the decision myself. I'm offering a possible solution is that prevent it entirely. Do not allow him the opportunity to go anywhere by himself.
we don't.
But you said you have a door that allows him to get out, the front door,
No,
which is not part of the
no,
fence.
I have 2 front doors. I have a storm door. Okay, and that
Yeah.
goes down the front stairs out into my other part of my property. And then I have the front door that basically he can go into the house that way, but there's no doggy door on the storm door going out into the main yard.
Okay. But if he were to somehow get out that.
He can't because I lock it
Okay.
with a key.
But if he were, he would not be within the fenced area.
Excuse me?
He would not be within the fenced area if he were able to get through that door somehow. Is that true?
Yes.
So, I mean, just to sort of piggyback that a little bit, I had an Australian Shepherd, very smart, very crafty, and would get in and out and do mischievous things and bark at everyone. So what I found was that an electric fence that set the perimeter. And he went through that, he was gonna get shocked till he went back. I mean, like really shocked.
We thought about that.
And as someone who loves shepherds, loves their intelligence and their loyalty, it was the only way to get her to stop. And because he would wander out. And it was the best. And I think because I like that he could go out on his own if I was running late, he could go out and pee, do whatever he needs to outside. And it really helped manage him better.
That's a great idea.
And I love that he's people friendly because, based on the reports, I think that's a really important characteristic of the animal. But for the times that, my parents are older than you and they would watch my dog Chili, he would sneak out on his own, that fence enabled him to.
It's a barrier.
It was the best way because it kept the dog from getting themselves into trouble or barking at someone accidentally or whatever happens because it's a fail-safe. Because you work hard to maintain the animal.
I think that's
Dogs are gonna react, they react.
I think that's a great idea, and we looked into them, they have them at PetSmart, and we looked at them there, and of course on Amazon, but we just haven't got to that point yet. What we did do is we put a new fence up, and he just loves his yard, and he's very obedient, he stays in there. Again, I come back to it, that you say if he does, but the only way that he could do that is because I lock that door all the time. Matter of fact, you come to my house right now, and that storm door going out down the front stairs into the walk and outdoors, that's locked. And basically speaking, no one can open that door. It's a locked storm door. So the other thing is that what he does do is that from there, he can hang out, let's say we had a big rainstorm, and this is a picture of him being in a rainstorm, is that, I try to prevent that. Of course, we don't know when the downpours are coming. So I turn around and I lock him into the main porch. In other words, he can get into my house, but he can't go out into the yard because I don't want him hanging around in the downpour. One of these things that just got messed up. But needless to say, he just hangs around in the yard. He has plenty of room to run around in that fenced-in yard, and he loves it. And he's psychologically, this is his nest egg, So I do agree with you on that, and we will look into that, We have looked into it, but we just haven't done it,
And that takes the pressure off because sometimes the gates don't always get closed. That's part of life. Sometimes wind blows and you think the latch went down. I mean, it's just the nature of the beast. It's life.
And I think there's an invisible, there is an invincible fence, but there is also one that you put around their neck, and it says an alarm and.
Just warning beeps and then a shock if they get.
And I've tried it. It has a good shock. I mean, I wanted to know how bad it was.
He does have one. He does have one, but because he's a thick hair shepherd, he's got thick hair. I mean, that protects him from getting shocked, but Erica was introducing us to one, and she says she put it on Max, and it really worked. So we will look into that, and we'll take that into, not consideration, we'll put it into action and try to make this happen.
Well, it's unfortunate that these folks didn't appear tonight to hear their side of the story. All we have is their written testimony here, and we have, John's response to the situations. So there has not been anything since May.
No.
Since the fence has been put in.
Well, I gotta show you the fence, because can I come on now? Because I do want to, we're into this kind of situation where, the dog is getting accused of something that we don't have recorded, they didn't record it. I went and got the dog, about probably 5 minutes after he got loose. I was there grabbing the dog. I did not see Sharon. I did not see Sean there. We did not have any conversations about the dog getting bit. It was a few days later that they came over and presented a bill to my father without photographs of the dog bites. And that entailed us looking at the fence, which, they were told anyway that there was a big slat missing in this fence, which, could cause a problem for any dog that's gonna be going around that property. And here's a fence here, and this is after Sean decided to fix it. Now, this is on Erica's side, meaning facing her home. Their dogs are on the inside, and then when I notice something here, there's a wire in
There's
between
wire
this
in
fence,
between.
and it's bent. Okay, so my dog could not put his to a 6-inch. How was he gonna put his head in there, be a Houdini, and now finally about a month later, they decide to send another bill because the wound is infected and get my father to pay for that one too. In fact, they sent us a letter, which I have here, that doesn't even ask us, just say, oh, thank you for paying the first one. You know, she's recovering, it was so nice of you, but unfortunately, she's had an infection, and here's another $1,200. But however, they didn't say you have to pay it, they just said if you could contribute this, that would be great. The minute that we proposed, like, okay, well, I'm not really sure, I said again to him, this is the second time I said to Sean, where's the photos for this? You know, it's 3 weeks we're into this, and we don't even know, like, the photos, even the bites, you know? And so finally I did get them, because I got, you know, Sean is kind of aggressive, and my father cannot hear very well, and he's 83, and he's getting a little bit uneasy, so I decided to take over this situation since I was around during the alleged incident. Okay, so I go over and start looking at this fence where it was missing. Now, this is on their side of the fence. Max is on his side of the fence, okay? Now, when they did show me the bites, okay, the bites were on the back of the front of the leg. Now, how did my dog, I have a horse, sorry, and I know what kind of damage wires can do, because my horse has been cotton wire, and he almost had tendon damage, it can do a lot, and to be honest with you, infections get really bad when it comes to metal and wire versus somebody just cleaning out a bite, okay? I can honestly say that, but Max could not stick his head through this 6-inch cord, pull a Houdini, like an exorcism, and grab this dog by the back of the leg. The only thing I can think of is when he went to see Erica's dog, Nika, the pit bulls came and saw Max there, went to this slatted because it's facing her house, and were, you know, doing this to Max, went over to check it out, and their dog had to be hanging out of this for my dog to even get near it. So either hurt himself on this fence, or if he did get hurt to my dog, it's because the dog was hanging out of it. Okay, because there's no way Max could, as Sean would say, stick his skinny little snout through there. But it would have to be more than his snout, wouldn't it? It would have to be his head turning around to get to the bottom of the back of the front of the leg. Okay, and I look at this, and since I've seen wire damage before, I'm really hesitant to say that, okay, these are dog bites, you know what I'm saying? There's just no way. They don't have a camera. They don't have, you know, the ring to show us that this is what happened, but this is how Sean repaired it. Now think about this, think about this. If you're having an incident with this, why did you replace the fence on the inside and not the outside? Why? Because you're worried that your dog is gonna get in the wire again? That's what that red flagged me right there. And when I blow this picture up, I can see the loop-de-doos in the wire. I really can, if I really blow it up on my phone. That's where I said, wait a minute here, okay? To me, he should have been placing both the boards, but didn't. He placed the side that's dangerous with the wire exposing for his dog, okay? So that was my red flag. So that's when I started thinking, like, you know, my father with the second bill and the infections, I was like, wait a minute, this is where, he only paid that first bill because they never showed us any photos or anything about it, and it was a few days later, then all of a sudden my dog got bit, is what they said. No photos though, my father,
No,
I mean, he's trying to make peace in the neighborhood, so what does he do? He probably should have, but he paid it. So that they went, and then 3 weeks later, Sean comes around very aggressive again, I'm giving you another bill. Now that, you know, that set my father off. He doesn't, you know, he doesn't need, he has a fixed income, we don't have any proof this happened, you know, we probably should have made more of an investigation before he paid the first one, but he didn't, okay? So now Sean sent us that letter, and I have it here that states, you know, from him and Sheila that, thank you for paying the first one, you know, she got an infection, however, if you can contribute anything, that would be great. The minute he found out, and I offered to pay for almost half of it, saying, okay, why don't we split it? Because I'm not quite sure, I'm a real estate broker, so the first thing I'm gonna do is try it. And I help my dad, okay, listen, why don't we split it, okay? Nope, the minute Sean heard that we weren't gonna pay the full second bill, and it didn't say we had to pay anything in that letter to us, it just presented us a second bill, and said, if you could, that would be great. He got angry and started this whole thing, well, I'm gonna tell the town, I'm gonna call the police, I'm gonna sue you in court. It turned ugly. And that's where we're at now, guys. We're in an ugly situation because they're unhappy that, and to me, I really, you know, my father used the word extortion, And he's 83 again, okay? Let's not take advantage of the situation here and get my father to pay your bills because of your negligence. And I don't even know, to be honest with you, I just moved here, right? And I'm gonna say in the beginning of April, before this incident. I've got 3 cats, okay? This is the dog with my cats. This is the dog with my nephew and my grandnephew just the other day. You know, he's not an aggressive dog.
I'm not.
At all. And I'm not really quite sure if my dog actually bit him, because a few times I've placed phone calls to Erica and she'll attest. I hear dogs fighting. And I call her and I said, is there a dog fight? And what? The 2 pit bulls fight each other once in a while. So how do I know they didn't have an altercation? And Sean is just, boom, smacking it to my dad.
Well, the one I'm concerned about, I mean, as you said, we don't have a lot of information and proof of those regarding the pit bulls. The one with Bugsy, I mean, I can see how that situation would happen.
Is it your dog or is it your
It's
father's?
my dad's, but you know.
Okay, I'm trying to make sure I understand the ownership.
So I thought there was a
ownership
transfer.
part.
Ownership is he's a family dog at this point, you know what I'm saying? That, you know, and I've taken a lot of responsibility to help my dad with the dog at this point, because his knees, okay, and his walking capability, so that's the only, and I spent a lot of time with him in the last 4 months. And that's the only thing, okay?
So I have a couple of things. You know, this is unfortunate. That is a close-knit neighborhood, to say the least. All right, and this is unfortunate that this has occurred. Okay. This board has as well the animal control officer. There's governance and control through Mass General laws about how to deal with these things. Okay. We don't have as much as a free hand with these things as people might be led to believe, all right? So, you know, that aspect of it is what it is. I will tell you, and I will caution you, you absolutely have legal liability here, all right? And going forward, should that dog jump out of that fence and bite somebody that's walking by, this is precedent for that, and it will be an unfortunate end to that. I will tell you, to all 3 of you, I appreciate you coming to this afternoon, and John, to coming here and expressing, you know, your feelings, your thoughts, and what corrective action you're taking to try to mitigate this thing, okay? And, you know, with that being said, the plaintiffs, complainants are not here tonight to speak for themselves. And in of itself, that is disheartening to me, because I believe if you're gonna take the time to write these letters and document this, and they were served notice by certified mail, and it was acknowledged. It isn't like that we sent them an email and hope they read the thing, all right? There's not any of that, all right? They got, postman gave them a ticket, they signed for it, and whether they read the thing or not, I have no clue. But they were served due notice to be here tonight. Now, the tragedy here is that you in of itself, you're getting put on notice tonight, and that's not irrevocable. That's always going to be around in the event something bad happens. But Madam Chair, I'm gonna ask, based on the fact that the complainants did not come here tonight, I'm gonna ask our board to dismiss this complaint.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm certainly willing to consider that too. I mean, I'm not, from what I'm hearing and being familiar with dogs of many breeds throughout my entire life, and I'm heavily involved with the Local Humane Society, I deal with dogs a lot. It seems to me that the circumstance that happened with Muggsy was a typical dog encounter. There was an injury to Muggsy, but you're telling me there was an injury to Max as well, which you didn't.
And Will, who was the neighbor, would testify that. But, you know, I didn't push it any further saying, hey, you're on my property, your dog bit. I just dropped it, and I took care of Max, and he healed pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, I've had that happen with my dogs in the past. I mean, anybody who's had dogs has probably had tussles like this before, and they're very scary and they're unpleasant, and sometimes you end up with a vet bill, and sometimes you don't.
Yeah.
The one with the neighbors further down the street, I'm just not seeing, there's a lot of information, and it is unfortunate that none of them showed up tonight to defend their dogs. There's no picture. You know, I appreciate John addressing this and doing his job and going out there and responding to the situations. It's what we expect him to do, and calling out, in his opinion, that, you know, this is causing a problem in a pretty heavy populated environment, and things could go badly quickly.
But
I
I,
do,
Like I said, based on tonight, you are absolutely on notice with this thing.
yeah, the fact
I
that
would
we've had the
take heed
hearing,
and be
right.
sure that the dog has got, you gotta go an extra mile. Like, sure, May, he hasn't done anything since May. That's a positive sign going in the right direction,
Mhm.
but it's no indicator of what's gonna happen tomorrow morning. It's just, dog is a dog, and none of us wanna act on having a dog put down that is a family pet. And I think you guys know what I mean when I say a family pet,
well,
right? And that's not what we're here for, but we are here to protect the residents of the town and act on the information coming forward from the ACO, to not let this just languish and be disregarded. This is a very significant issue, but as I said, that folks, the plaintiffs, the complainants, whatever we call them, are not here tonight, which I don't know,
the thing is this, that I feel like I was generous in trying to keep peace in the neighborhood, and we paid the $1,200, but it wasn't a mission of guilt. As my daughter explains, we don't think Max did it, okay? But the issue came beyond that is because we didn't pay the second bill. But, you're saying and I can appreciate that, but as I say, Max may have never did it.
Right. Well, yeah, I don't want to focus on that situation. I don't.
but
The
what I
only
will
one
say-
I want to focus on is
Well, I will
Muggsy, and I
say-
think that's easily
Well, I
explained.
will say, I will take
Yeah.
his advice, and I think it's a great idea to put a, invisible fence up.
Yeah, I mean, because what I'm focused on, where I grew up, it was black and white. When your dog bit someone, bit something, it was put down. It was instantaneous. It wasn't even a question. That was the town's policy, and that was the three select board members and the town manager. There was no questions asked. So it really puts the onus on the owner, and you are the owner. And I know, I appreciate your age and your wisdom and your experience with animals, but it is on your shoulders and your family's shoulders to keep that dog from getting out and posing a risk to other animals, people, traffic, cars, like the cow did, posing a risk to the public.
Yeah.
So, and the animal control officer has noted that he believes this dog poses a risk to public safety. That letter is right here. So I can't, I'm with Ron.
I don't understand that.
That's the letter that the select board received from Mr. Greenhall here in regards
Well,
to.
I don't understand it because it doesn't deal with the people, or human beings. It's dealing with a supposed issue. And one of the supposed issues was on my property. But anyways,
So
Yeah.
so I can't emphasize enough getting an electric fence and saving your dog from any further issues on other people's property. Because on your property, it's your property. And that's pretty much where I'm at. Because it's really black and white to me that as the owner of the animal, it is on me to prevent the animal from harming
I
anything,
agree.
anyone, any car, or whatever.
I don't want anybody or anything or
And I believe
any
you.
animal to get hurt, and neither do I want my dog to get hurt. And so I will, because it's a twofold situation. I believe in the invisible fence, but when I go out and work out in the yard, okay, Max has to stay in the pen, and I move around in my yard and whatever I'm doing and work. And I say, geez, my other shepherd that I once had that died of cancer, he followed me around and worked in the yard with me, but I'm not letting Max out. But with the invisible fence, that's a good idea that.
Keeps you right next to you. That's what the dog wants to do.
So I appreciate your reminding me of something that we did look into a few
So,
months ago.
yeah, anything that would prevent this from happening again. Even if it happened, it was just a minor tussle, but there was a smaller dog that was injured, that does happen. It happens.
We certainly will do that. We certainly-
Erica, one quick question, and then the board's gonna,
Just a comment, and it's not my dog, it's not my property, but Max has had the e-collar on. He did respond to it the first time very well, the second time when I took him for the walk, he did not respond to it. So I hesitate on the electric fence and actually, and this is just my opinion, an actual fence.
well, yeah, I mean, people seem to be, I would never use an electric fence, because I had Boston Terriers and a boxer. If they go after something, they are not feeling pain. They go through that, and then once the excitement's over, they're feeling it, and then they're on the outside. And so that, I've always had the physical fence too. You know, it's 4.5 feet tall, and yeah, with wire, it's wood and wire, so it's secure. Maybe your shepherds are smarter, I don't know. They respect
I
it.
said it to the highest possible number.
Yeah.
and it just-
The canine trainer said that too.
But whatever,
Believe it or not, what you're saying, the canine trainer did tell us that.
Yeah, whatever it is that you go with, I would strongly encourage you encapsulate your entire house. Every door that leads to outside is within the fenced area. It's peace of mind for me, it's a pain in the ass every time to open the gate, to drive my car out, get out of the car, close the gate, but it just becomes a part of your.
Yeah, we'll definitely look into it and we'll put it into action.
So, okay, anything else? Did you?
I
Need a motion.
I move that
Motion
we,
to-
no, I'm gonna move to dismiss this complaint.
I will second that.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you for your.
Thank you.
time.
Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Thank you for your times.
Okay, moving on. Let's open up the public forum. Anybody here that would like to speak to something that is not on the agenda?
I think we touch on this later on, but
Nope. Okay,
unless someone else is in, but the Neshoba Valley Medical Center.
yes.
So that was the only thing that's on my mind, but I think it's an important facility to show our support for.
Yeah.
Both the employees and things
Yeah,
like
we
that.
do have that on the agenda. We also just received a copy from Townsend that signed that declaration along with, I believe it's AR has so far.
I think you have that as an agenda.
We do, it's on the agenda.
11?
And the blue bins moved,
Yeah.
so maybe we just socialize that within the town, in case people are wondering.
They moved today?
They're not next to the post office.
So they were there
Just a moment ago.
yesterday?
No, they
It
were
was there this
they
afternoon.
were
Must have just, oh, all right.
Yeah,
the
so
bin guy.
And they've been moved to the highway garage.
Yes.
Veterans Office.
Okay.
Veterans office.
Okay.
Yes.
So this is the first public announcement.
There you go, all right.
Okay, no one from the, oh, good, all right, we're moving on here. We have two sets of minutes, May 28th and July 16th. I assume you have all read them?
We did.
No
I
concerns?
have no issue. I'll move that we accept the meeting minutes as provided.
Second.
All right. Further discussion, all's in favor? Thank you, Sue and Jason. Next, we have an appointment to the Memorial and Monuments Committee. Amy Stevens has put forth her interest in wanting to be on this committee.
Yeah, she's been involved in other groups before, and I think we'd love to round out that board. It's a good
Okay.
person.
You're on that board,
I
right?
am, yeah.
And it's a 3-person board?
It is, it's myself, Joe Dean is chair, and so this will be our third person.
Okay, good, all right.
Is she, aware that she's going to get?
Yes. So when we put out the vacancies, she responded, so we spoke.
Okay,
So I move that we appoint Amy Stevens to the Memorials and Monuments Committee Board, or committee, I guess, right?
all right, is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? None, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you, Amy. Another appointment to the Elderly Disabled Taxation Fund Committee. Another committee we have to set up.
So this was passed at last town meeting.
Right,
As part of the statute, the chair of the Board of Assessors and the treasurer serve, they're required to serve on the committee. And then there are 3 residents, so figured we could use this opportunity to make those appointments and then call for volunteers. So we'll put out a call after, as long as you agree, to residents to serve. The checkoff box did appear on the last quarterly bills, and I did provide an accounting of what we've received to date, with a little $200 from residents. So we have received that. The fund is set up. Now we need a committee to administer the funds.
okay.
And just so I know, section 3D is the section that charges this board? Is that how that works, Jason?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, that's the Mass General
Okay,
Law.
MGL,
Yeah, that's the,
So they have governance and control. They provide this, right? We don't
They
need to
do.
do anything.
they are responsible for setting rules and regulations, criteria, and all of that to issue the funds.
So it comes out on either municipal tax, motor vehicle excise, or mail subsidy. I was just expecting a question, probably not for discussion here, but my taxes get paid through with my mortgage, so I don't pay it every,
Yeah.
How would I would have to talk to, if I wanted to add on to that tax, when it's automatically withdrawn, how does it handle?
Come on. Yeah, you walk in and check.
Yeah, okay. Okay. All right,
What's that?
We have
yeah,
a question from the.
we have a question from the crowd.
Yeah, just please refresh my memory and anybody that might be listening at home. Just a couple sentences here on what you're talking about.
Sure. So at last town meeting adopted a provision in the Mass General Law that allows municipalities to create an elderly and disabled taxation fund, and also a committee that administers the fund, which provides aid to elderly and disabled residents who are having difficulty with affording their tax bill.
So it allows town taxpayers to contribute to that
Correct.
on your tax bills, that either through real estate tax or excise tax.
Sounds good. Thank you.
So
Okay,
I move to appoint the chair of the Board of Assessors, Brett Rock, and town treasurer, Andrew Wall, to serve on the Taxation Aid Committee, and to request the town administrator to solicit volunteers to serve on the committee to fill the remaining 3 vacancies.
Second.
any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right. The bandstand railing replacement contract, which probably used more trees than it would be to construct the actual.
We gotta do it.
Have you read all that?
I did,
Second.
yes, good reading.
Light
Yeah, like.
reading.
So we issued an invitation for bids to replace the railing on the bandstand. Just so the residents know, I know you already know, the town received a state grant earmark to fund these improvements to the bandstand, so it's not local tax money, it's from an earmark that the town received. And so we've used it with one round of improvements to replace the roof, to replace the stairs and stair railings, do some floor work, and miscellaneous other improvements. Once that work was done, we had existing money remaining, so we put out the railing to see where that would come in. And amazingly, we had a very generous local contractor who had submitted a bid for $100 to do the work, to give back to the community because his family used the bandstand, and he also figured that if we were to be able to save money on this portion of the project, maybe it will free up money to do other improvements, which was extraordinarily generous.
Wonderful thing.
Yeah, so Vanguard Construction was the low bidder. Like I said, only $100. I checked his references for due diligence and they all came back glowing. And so now, because of this project coming in so low, we'll still have a balance in the earmark money that we'll be able to use for other improvements. So once this project gets going, we have through FY26 to use the money. So we'll begin to think about other ways to take advantage of it. But because of the generosity of Vanguard Construction, we're able to do more than we anticipated.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's
Very,
fantastic.
very generous.
So with this, the bandstand should be in pretty good shape.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
essentially completely renovated.
Yes.
Awesome. I mean,
No, I'm appreciative of it.
yeah,
Just
Joe?
what railing are you talking about?
All
So the,
The one's going up the stairs and then around.
so the one on the stairs was done as part of the first round. The railing around, the guardrail around the bandstand.
you ready?
Yes,
Move to approve a contract, I move to approve a contract with Vanguard Construction in the amount of $100 for the purpose of replacing the railing on the town common bandstand, and authorize the chair to sign the contract on behalf of the board.
Second.
any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Great, excellent, thank you.
That's cool.
Okay, let's see, personnel policy, discussion on the waiver of the provision of family working in the same department, request from the cemetery commission. Okay, we have a,
So there's a member of the commission
Okay.
in the audience that probably wants to speak to this, but there is a provision in our personnel policy that prohibits relatives from working in the same department. In the cemetery, they have a new superintendent coming on that happens to be related to the current superintendent. And so to ensure a smooth transition, I believe the request is to waive this provision for that transition period so that there can be some support as the new superintendent starts the role.
Well,
That's it, okay.
I think
Yeah, you support it.
you have to, decide what period of time would be reasonable for this transition. Basically, your retiring superintendent decided he wouldn't do it for free. There you go. So, if you'd like him to help with this transition, he needs to be, working for the new superintendent. So she has not started yet because of this provision.
Well, I think this is sort of an extenuating circumstance where it just so happens we have one superintendent who has the institutional knowledge and the skills and the best ability to train the new person who so happens to be related to that one person coming in. I think it would
We had
make sense
five
to.
applicants. With 5 applicants, we interviewed 2 of them.
Mhm.
And that was the person that rose to the top. Experience, educationally, and in general. I think Jason agreed.
Yeah, she was quite impressive.
So really our charge here is just to offer a waiver request for this,
For
for this one
particular-
department.
Yes, this
Okay.
particular situation.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Not for this department going forward, this is for
Just
this
as-
one circumstance.
Okay. Have we had this in other areas of the town before?
Not that I'm aware of.
Not since you've had a personnel policy.
Yes. All kinds of things happened before that.
Okay.
Okay.
I mean, we gotta compensate, or get the new person to start and maybe be trained, so be better than the person.
I don't know how long your librarian, The librarian worked with the new librarian 4, 6 weeks, maybe
Yeah.
now.
Forget. I don't know off the top of my head.
I would say, I would like to have up to 6 weeks as a possibility. It takes you from one season into another season.
No, I think it's fair to set a timeline for sure, and then.
It doesn't have to go on forever.
Yeah.
And it will probably be limited. I think there'll be certain things that she'll want, funeral arrangements and certain things like that she may want to call on him for a longer period of time. I think she's got the equipment pretty much figured out, and the landscaping part of things and so forth. She'll learn more about the history than she may ever have wanted, because you've all been to town meetings, so,
If she doesn't know it already.
if she hasn't already absorbed that, she'll absorb a little more. But I think especially in dealing with, funeral arrangements and, purchase of grave sites and so forth. That's,
Nuanced.
it is, and
Yeah.
it's a tricky time for people. It's
Yeah.
a difficult time, and we all want to handle that.
So you think 6 weeks is a reasonable time?
Would offer 6 weeks, and if each party feels like it's been satisfactory, right, they could say, all right, we're good here, but 6 weeks seems like the right protocol.
Well, this really just clears the way to have that
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah.
I mean, we can certainly put, because right now, this motion doesn't have that timing on it. So we're gonna add that in, a period not to exceed 6 weeks unless, additional, all right, okay, so.
Yeah.
At the request of the Cemetery Commission, I move to waive the provision of the town's personnel policies under the heading appointments, which is on page 10, and which states, it is the policy of the town to prohibit relatives from working in the same department, provided that this rule shall not apply to relatives working in the same department prior to October 1 of 2010. And this waiver is applicable during the transition period for the position of cemetery superintendent, not to exceed 6 weeks.
From the date of,
She won't start now until, we had hoped she'd start on July 1st, but she will be away next week. So I would say that we would have her formally start from Friday, the 23rd, and, so the following Monday.
so 6 weeks from the
4, 5,
date
6,
of,
August 26th, that she'll take the position on August 26th,
okay,
6 weeks, okay.
and 6 weeks from there.
okay.
Do you need to know how old I'll be on August 23rd?
If you
Only if you want to tell us.
It was an issue.
Would you like us to have a cake for you?
No, the cards and
Okay, so for 6 weeks starting August
August 3rd.
26th.
Is it the 26th?
I believe it's the 26th.
August 26th. 8/26 forward.
I will second that.
Okay.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Very good. Okay, next up, we have private signs on public property policy. So, yes. Okay, so we are looking to do, establish a policy that would prohibit private signs being placed on public property. I have something here before us, it's pretty brief,
Yeah, but
pretty direct.
I don't know. I'm a little wishy-washy on this one, okay? And here's where I'm at, right? The language in here that says, no private signs shall be placed, erected, or affixed on any public property within the town limits, all right? So Food Truck Fridays,
So exceptions, read the next paragraph.
exception. This prohibition does not apply to signs placed by town officials for purposes such as traffic signs, public notices, and event signages, right? Temporary signage for town-sponsored events, okay, got that, may be approved upon approval by the select board or their designee. And then enforcement, any private sign placed on public property without authorization will be subject to removal by the town without prior notice. Okay, so that's our enforcement. We're just gonna go take the sign, put it out there with all the others, and we get piled up on the side of town hall. Is that the deal?
Yeah. We'll hold them for a week and then they will be discarded.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, where does that go? I have one thing, and it's just me, and it's, tell me to shut up, all right? I have a pet peeve with driving around town and seeing these signs that say, please slow down, all right? I just do, all right?
But if they're on someone's private
Most of those
property,
are on
they can do
private
that.
property.
Most of those
Not all.
are
We're not preventing signs in general. We're just
Most of
preventing
those
signs
are in the right of way,
town.
and by our, previously approved
Correct.
bylaw, they should not be there.
Yeah,
Right.
so,
If they're in the right of
They're in
way,
the right
then
of
that's
way.
town property, essentially.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
okay,
correct.
so now here,
So then the zoning enforcement officer, the building collector.
Yeah, well, the road right of way is under the jurisdiction of the road commission. So,
So that would be essentially town property.
so this would only apply to property that is under the jurisdiction of select board. I mean, there are other, like conservation commission, cemetery, owned property. Ways under the jurisdiction of the road commission, which is covered by the most recent.
If it's the right of way, right,
Right of way.
but not general town property.
Okay.
so help me out a little bit, okay? I gotta do this from memory, and sometimes that's not always the best, right? But we have had discussion at this board, in the years past, right? ABC Roofing Company comes in and puts a roof on Joe's house, and they take and put a sign out on the front yard, ABC Roofing Company, call me for your next roofing job, right? It's my understanding we cannot have those signs. Contractor signs are restricted. Joni?
That's what I'm trying to look for the language here in that, moving signs are prohibited and all. Whether we can or okay. That's what I've always been told, but you know what? I've gone to look for that language and have had trouble finding it. So,
Same.
Yeah, I don't think that's in our sign bylaw.
yeah, and I personally,
You don't
as
think
long
it's
as
in
they're not left, I'd rather see a sign up for somebody that's doing a job, for a few weeks, than seeing a sign up for somebody's kid that graduated 3 months ago and is still, on the, out by the road. So, I haven't worried too much about that, but yeah, have you looked at the actual sign zoning bylaw to see how it works with now this is just a policy, this is not a general bylaw,
Right.
it's not a zoning bylaw,
Just a
it's
policy.
just a policy.
Correct.
To see how it dovetails, because, temporary signs are allowed in a lot of areas. They don't, temporary signs on private property, temporary signs within public ways shall not be attached. See, so even this goes beyond what we just approved. The sign, the right of way
bylaw.
bylaw.
Yep.
Because, nothing but a mailbox,
Yeah, right.
and street signs
are allowed in the right of way. So,
I mean, this is a policy, it's just something that, you know, if we get tremendous pushback, it's easily reversed. But
If we don't have any control, Dana Barnes has gone around and picked up those contractor signs. They've been, at one point in time, there were several of them stacked up outside here. There were. and
Well,
that's
I
what
mean,
did
we
with
should
them.
have a conversation with him and see why, or does he have to actually, right, try to sift through that zoning bylaw again and see this, but this is something different, this is for.
It is,
you know, putting
it's
stuff
similar,
on.
but I hear, all right, so I move to approve the policy to regulate sign placement on public property as presented and dated August 13th, 2024.
For some reason, the August 13th, 2024 is not on that copy, but it will be.
Is an election considered a town?
It was.
No.
That's it, because that,
It's a town event.
an election is, right?
Yeah.
So that would mean you could put out
You can put a sign on it.
signs for Ron,
Yeah.
signs for Kieran,
No, you can put signs up advertising that there is an election,
but not
not
advocating for.
not
a candidate.
advocating for a candidate.
Okay,
I don't know if that's true.
so that's
Those
the,
are
That
private,
would be a private
those would be
sign,
private signs.
that's a private sign,
for a town sponsored event.
For a town-sponsored event.
it's not
I'm
a
just
sponsor.
saying.
No. That's a private sign that is being distributed by the candidate or their people. So that makes it a private sign. They're not advocating, they're not advertising the election that it's happening. They're advocating for telling you who to vote for.
Unless it says vote for Kieran.
Political signs are exempt.
Not on public property.
signs pertaining to public elections shall be allowed, provided that none shall be erected earlier than 60 days.
Yeah, I know this is the policy.
Not on public property. On public property, on the jurisdiction of the board, of the select board, you have the authority to regulate sign placement and essentially all use.
Yeah.
What the zoning allows for political signs on private property for a period of time. You don't have to, you have the authority to regulate public property under the board's jurisdiction in any way you like. So, I mean, the way this is written, I would not imagine that a private political sign for a political candidate would be allowed on public property.
Agreed. But we can put a sign up saying there is going to be an election on this day.
Or you
That
could,
we put out there.
or you could allow it. I mean,
That's an event sign.
if there was an interest in allowing it, you could allow
What was that?
Kieran's hosting the election on May 17th.
What
Vote
was that
Kieran.
about the,
it.
Just remember, it's just like,
But
I'm with you.
but
I'm
it's
just-
you, that's Kieran.
Not as-
private
not as-
So I'm
sign.
hosting my election.
I don't.
But you are a private person that are doing that. It's not a town-sponsored sign.
But it's just slightly gray enough to be a pain in the butt.
Well, I'd rather have it than not have it.
Yeah. I mean, there are signs everywhere now, like whether it be, I think like Skilling's well signs, and then you get New England well signs, and you got, roof 1, 2, 3 signs, and they're everywhere now. So,
There, and, right, and the graduation signs are everywhere too, so.
the school gives those out, don't they?
They do.
So I'm like, we're almost fighting that comes out of the school budget that we all,
yeah, I pick one.
oh, do they? Okay. All right. I thought it was all something we all just chipped in for.
Yeah, that's,
Okay, so that's my motion.
I will second it.
okay, all in favor?
What a fun topic.
Yeah.
A lot of
On to the next fun one.
Now you get Dana to pick them up.
Yeah,
Well, any
No, actually, Jason's
town
gonna
officials
do
could do
that.
it. It doesn't say who the enforcement.
What's a Volvo?
Any town official
Load
could
it
do
up.
it.
Put up with that.
He goes.
All right, municipal fee increases. This is a big
Yes.
chunk of info.
So we were, I think, 2 meetings ago, maybe 3 meetings ago, we provided the board with a variety of information on existing fees and some recommendations on how to adjust them to stay within the range of what the market is charging in other municipalities. We also talked about, again, if it wasn't the last meeting, it was the meeting before, about the increase in the processing fee that Permit Link is charging from 10 to 12, and we adjusted that. So thankfully, Sue has done the lion's share of the work on this.
Thank you, Sue.
Which I truly appreciate. So I'm gonna really hand this over to her because she's really done much of the work with not only the recommendations, and as you'll look at these recommendations, the adjustment from 10 to 12 is incorporated in these recommendations now. And you'll also see a comparison between what we're charging now, what our recommendations are, and what neighboring communities are charging. With that, I would love to pass it on to Sue for her to go through.
I had a quick question. I'm trying to find where it is. So there are some instances where there are comparisons to the other towns and our line was blank. So does that mean we did not have a fee for that at all?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there were a few then.
Again, I think it's mostly in the town clerk world. But if you start by looking at so right after the letter that Jason was just reviewing, there's updated fee schedule recommendations, it's August 8th on the top.
This one.
Okay.
So this is basically the fee schedule, it's a duplication of the fee schedule that we have today, but it's adding on the additional $2 in each of the items, as well as it shows in pink, or gray for you guys, what the previous fee was if it's more than just the $2. So in the first section under commercial, assembly, radio towers, single family dwellings, you can see that's all per square foot fees. So it used to be 10, now it's 12. If you go down to transfer permits, so it used to be $40, so the recommendation is to bring it up to 52. So it's 50 plus the $2. And then for demolition permit right now, it's $60, the recommendation is to bump it up to 102.
So we did not have an occupancy permit fee prior.
We're not recommending any changes to that.
Oh, okay.
So it was 50, so now it's 52.
Okay, gotcha. All right.
The alterations, again, it's just the $2.
Yeah.
If you go down to swimming pools, you can see that the in-ground swimming pool was raised from 135 to 152. And then under miscellaneous,
And again, I'm sorry, but the above ground again, there was no change in that, or there
Correct.
was not a fee?
no change.
Okay.
So there's only a change if there's the old fee next to it, right? Wood stoves going from 55 to 62. Re-roofing is going from 85 to 102. Home occupancy certificates are going from 45 to 52. There wouldn't be any changes to ramps or replacement card. And then sheet metal is going from 60 to 102. You're significantly low on that one. For wiring, you can see the changes are really under the new and existing service, or new changes and service changes. We were 60 across the board, so raising it up to 77 and 87. No changes to the new house permit other than the $2 increase. And then an electric water heater, we're going from 60 to 77. Above ground pools and underground pools for wiring will go from 60 to 87. Alarm system goes from 60 to 67. I looked and I think we had one alarm system in the last 2 or 3 years, so it's clearly not a thing anymore.
Everybody says like the ring or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah. Pool houses will go from 80 to 102, and then PV solar systems from 110 to 152. There aren't any recommended changes for gas or plumbing. They're all pretty much in line, except for the $2 in each
We
one.
didn't do, we did that not that long ago.
Yeah, it was very much in line with
Yeah.
other communities.
So our comparison towns,
Yep, so you can see on the next one, compare, if it's blank, if the town's blank, it didn't have a few published that I could find.
all right, okay.
So you can see how we compare it to capital towns in air. If you keep going down, it will show you like the graphs are a little bit easier to see.
So I just, my quick look at this chart, like we have like a 2 after a lot of ours, and every other town's already like 100 or 75, and then that's just because I know we have that $2 increment right in our system. Should we round it up to 55 to a 5?
We good?
And just for the sake of, we pay our building inspectors a lot of money. They're not getting any cheaper, labor's not, I don't know.
If it's justifiable on how, again, these are fees that they can profit off of. They can only be used to satisfy what our actual expenses are. So just rounding it up for the sake of rounding it up, maybe.
The original recommendations didn't have the $2, so they were all
Yeah,
runs, but then we had to fill that out.
it's just, to me, it's, I just think like my logical brain's like, well, $102 seems like a strange number. You know, like 105, like, oh, 105, or is it 100? I mean, right, like it's, I don't know, I'm not trying, because I look at every other town across, you look at the right-hand side.
We were lower in almost every single category.
We were lower, but every single one is either a 5 or a 0.
I mean, I wouldn't want to, just my perspective is you wouldn't want to lower it because then you'd be losing the $2.
So we don't want to use, yeah, we don't want to
It doesn't-
use the $2. It's-
Because then you'll be losing.
That is a fee that we can counterbalance because.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a legitimate reason for that extra $2.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying, I mean, it looks weird, but I don't want to just raise it for the sake of raising it because it looks weird. I think we do need to be conscious of that this is not a source of revenue, this is, right, Jason, they're not.
Well, it's revenue.
Well, I mean, it's revenue, but
What we do is.
you can't profit from
There it
it.
is.
It's a revenue.
What do you mean revenue? This is dumpster.
Yeah.
What about the fire department? So they have a black powder permit, right, that you have to have for black powder to hold in your house, gunpowder. And then we have oil permit for the tank. And then we have a propane permit for the propane. How are those? I don't even know where those are.
Fire department, did you talk with the chief about?
No.
fire fees for-
No, I thought it was in here. I know there's a black, I think Joe Dean has a black powder permit right now for the black powder he has in his house.
They don't come here for those permits.
They go to the fire
department. It's not part of the permit.
It's not part of the.
What?
I'm sorry. I can't remember if I got, I think he is going to look at them, I just don't think he,
The fire chief?
so.
Yeah, if we had a fee schedule, it's,
And he may have already, I don't want to say he hasn't.
no, but I would look at those in terms of how much we're charging for them. I think the black powder permit was like $5, which I don't know why, I think there were a couple of guys, Joe Dean's one of them, because he has black powder in his house. He has a permit to store it. And then when Lord Oil comes in to do an oil job, they want to add a tank. or they're gonna remove a tank, they gotta go to the fire department to get that permit. That's outside of this.
Yes.
structure.
It is outside of this.
And the same thing with propane tanks, right? Because they gotta be inspected before they get backfilled, so.
He did suggest a fee for inspection of food trucks.
Who's he?
The chief.
That's right, yeah, we talked about that too,
Yeah, we did talk about that,
for next year.
for
An
next year.
inspection of food trucks.
Yes,
What are we inspecting them for?
that's okay.
Okay.
Before they like set up and operate that day?
Not always the day of.
Okay. Interesting.
It's usually like within a week.
Yeah, just that they could provide like a certificate saying you're,
They bring a food truck to the station and they do a
oh,
an inspection,
Is it?
wow.
yeah, and they have no truck before. Because we have one.
Yeah, now it's become,
Yeah, they don't get it.
In addition to I don't know if you guys have any other questions around the inspector fees, but there is also the municipal lien certificates.
Yes.
So those, we're the only community charging 25, everybody else charging 50. So we're gonna do that. And then the town clerk office had some recommendations, very small recommendations on marriage intentions, raising that from $25 to $30.
Mhm.
Dog licenses from $6 to 10. Unaltered dogs to 15 from 10. Business certificates from $20 to 35. Business certificates
To what? 20 to 45?
35.
35.
Is it, no, 10
Business
to 20.
certificate changes
Is it
is
20?
something we do today.
Town clerk.
We charge for today,
We don't charge for
for the change to the business certificate,
Oh.
so, and they're 4-year certificates, so there are times where somebody might wanna change their DBA. And then utility pole recordings, going from $5 to $60. And raffle permits from 10 to 15.
them? Yeah, I think everything looks great. I would just get the fire department to put their permit fees into the schedule so everybody knows. The same thing with, burns, they're gonna, you have a burning permit, and that's gotta get captured somehow.
Do we charge for gun licenses too?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that fee should,
Well, you pay at the police department.
oh, true, yeah.
All right,
No, I think this has been great work. I just
Yeah.
finally, I just thinking about, I look at it, I'm like, that's you.
Well, I mean, it
So-
easily justifies the $2 service fee or whatever it is for, so,
Did you want to round it up, or just leave it as is?
I don't think,
Most of our
give it my
permits,
opinion, but,
and in the last few weeks, when we switched over to paying in permit link or direct link,
yeah,
we only had a couple checks dropped off, so it's become much more efficient, permits are moving much faster.
oh, good, awesome, yeah.
So that was another, remember we were talking about that, that was the meeting, Sue wasn't at, so I was doing my best, I was doing my best with it, but Sue, again, she did the bulk of the work on that, which now has allowed, contractors and residents to pay directly through permit link, rather than having to go from permit link to Unibank and then pay, which caused
Right, because then
Oh,
Unibank, then we would have to print, we'd have to pull the report, manually enter into permit link, send the permit to Dana, who then, so
Yeah.
that whole manual process.
journey.
And the turnover now to Bonnie went from hours of Dana being downstairs screaming to, it's literally like a 3-minute, pull the report, print it out, give it to Bonnie, it's all contained.
That's big improvement.
and user confusion is eliminated.
Oh, I haven't received one call from anybody
I
asking how
haven't
they
used it yet, so you
from
can't
that
say
last
that.
2 degrees.
Well, for the
Oh,
payment,
That's great, that's really good.
but
So they're better users.
you used to hear it at the counter, Sue would get regular calls about it. And with the change, we just aren't experiencing that anymore. It's a huge improvement for both, for all involved.
Yeah, one last question is, would you anticipate that each year, like, I guess I think each year we should be revisiting these for increases, because inflation, cost of doing business doesn't get any cheaper. So like, should we schedule this for next year this time?
I mean, best practice is to do it regularly.
Okay.
Each year, every other year. I mean, it should be done
Okay.
regularly, just a similar practice to what we went through this year that Sue led, is to gather the info, what are other people charging, make sure we can it's justifiable and legit. And we're not, like I always say, I don't want to be the highest, but I don't know that we should be the lowest either. We should be in the.
We still have to pay people to do the work.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think it's best practice to do it regularly for sure.
Okay. Yes, maybe next year we
Regularly.
revisit it, goes to 55.
Right, yeah.
And then it goes
That's
to
good.
58 and then 60.
Fair enough, yeah.
Because I mean, like, you have to pay Dana or whoever your building inspector is, they're getting their total each year. And
Absolutely.
their rate
So
goes up, so.
we should be able to address those expenses through our fees.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I move to approve fee adjustments as presented and request that the town administrator's office post the municipal fee schedule to the town or on the town's website.
Second.
any further discussion? None, all's in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next up is the ARPA fund reallocation, Selectmen's newsletter, and the town hall boiler repair. So,
We have a invoice to pay for the printing of the summer edition of the newsletter, $354. And then we also have an estimate for work to repair the boilers. Do you have that in your?
I don't think,
no,
See that? Okay. So we received an estimate from Wilson Brothers to repair the condensate pipe right from the boilers and other work. But that was the bulk of the work. And the estimate that we received was just shy of $5,100, I think, or maybe a little, roughly a little bit. If you want the estimate, I can go print it out. So before you tonight is just approval to pay the invoice from DS Graphics for the newsletter, and then to allocate $5,500 for the repair of the condensate on the boilers, and to reallocate funds for that work from the MS4 stormwater allocation. The other work, actually, it's supposed to go here. So the backflow preventer and boiler zone circuit on the boilers need to also be replaced. They're all leaking. So especially the pipe is really problematic. So that's completely deteriorated, the pipe, and so it needs to be replaced. So that work that Wilson Brothers estimated, that's a replacement, a complete replacement of the entire pipe to plastic. It's now copper. So, I'm hoping the board will consider allocating $5,500 for that project. It's a little more, but the estimate's old, and I'm not sure it's going to hold at this point. So I just want to make sure we have sufficient funds in order to do the work. And the boiler's been off since it's leaking, so we don't have a water right now.
You don't have domestic
We don't
water.
have, no, and we don't have, not that we need it, but we don't have heat, so, but we will.
it will be.
So that's the request.
So we need to, the ARPA deadline for which you dedicate all the money is coming up.
Yeah, right. End of the year.
End of the year.
Calendar year.
And then end of 26, when it needs to be spent.
Yes.
End of
End of
calendar 26.
calendar.
Right.
Yeah, so the end of this calendar, my memory's right, the end of this calendar year, the town needs to have it committed,
Right.
fully committed.
Mhm.
And then by the end of FY 26, I believe it's the end of fiscal 26.
Oh, fiscal,
I
okay.
believe,
I think that's what I remember.
Okay.
Yeah.
I believe, but it could be calendar, but I believe
I'm
it's
not sure.
fiscal. The money needs to be spent.
Well, I don't think we'll have a problem doing that.
By business, question,
Find a few motives.
Yeah. Well, okay, I mean, this is
Okay.
the best
It is what it is.
way to do it. The money's there,
Yeah.
gotta use it,
Yes.
it needs to be fixed.
Move to approve the payment of an invoice from DS Graphics in the amount of $354 for the printing of the select board newsletter and allocate $5,500 to repair the town hall boilers, condensate drainage piping, backflow preventer, and boiler zone circuit from the ARPA MS4 storm water allocation.
Second.
Any further discussion? None, all in favor?
And just so the board knows, we still have $65,000 remaining in the MS4.
After 5,500.
No, after the 5,500, we'll have slightly under 60.
Okay.
And we scheduled to what originally at the 100K for that, and sort of just pick
Wait,
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
What is the restriction on that money as far as what we're able to use it for? Is it?
ARPA, initially there were really tight strings on ARPA. And over time, they have really given municipalities a lot of flexibility in how it can be used. So it can be used for most everything now, yes.
Would you want to use it on one time?
Yeah, absolutely. One time expenses. Absolutely not, yeah. We've been able to get a lot of capital
We have.
improvements done.
We've done really well with it.
Yeah.
Things that'll make, they have longevity to it, like the boilers here, the voting boxes, stuff like that.
And
It's really
so
neat.
that really helps with our budget. Yeah. All right, next up, the Neshoba Valley Medical Center Emergency Declaration. I know there are several towns that have signed on to that, sent letters. Something I think it's probably important for us to do, considering that it is a hospital that is used by Vestibule residents. It's where ambulance can go if necessary. A lot of jobs, people work there. There is a hearing Thursday night at Devon's.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, and then a Zoom hearing following
Yes,
day,
it's
maybe.
15th and 19th, I believe.
They saved the one at Brockton, the Steward one.
Did they?
I saw that was on the news. They talked about the Brockton Steward Hospital, like somebody I think,
Yeah.
piggyback or bailed, I'm not sure what the right phrase is to describe keeping it open, came to an agreement. So hopefully they
I
can
think the
find,
town, the city of Rockland got involved.
did that? Okay. Yeah, it's a lot of people go to those places.
We get the same problem, that hospital's full. There's no vacancies in that hospital. I mean,
Well, anyone that, like, if you tear your ACL, you end up going there for physical therapy. They have tons of those offices.
Yeah,
It's really a shame.
yeah. Well, what do you think?
I move to approve the official resolution requesting emergency declaration regarding the proposed closure of the Neshoba Valley Medical Center dated August 13th, 2024.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Do we have a, one for us to sign here?
Yeah, I've got stuff for you guys to sign.
Okay. Joan?
What are you declaring?
So the Neshoba Valley Medical Center, there's a local organization, the town of Dunstable, Townsend, Ayer, Devens, et cetera, are all trying to band together to encourage our representatives at Scarsdale, Kennedy,
And more healing.
more healing and just the corporate folks that run that hospital to remain open and to make it an accessible place for medical care, but also jobs, because there's so many people who work. And it really will change, just ambulance time from here to Neshoba is a lot faster than getting to Concord.
It's gonna leave a huge hole.
Absolutely.
And,
I don't think many of our patients go there.
Emergency. Yeah,
The
emergency.
ambulance patients,
Right, they're mostly,
they're mostly Lowell or Southern.
Yeah,
I mean, we can't, the ambulance services can't take trauma patients to Southern or St. Joe. They gotta go to a POE hospital, which is Lowell or Worcester or Leahy, Burlington. You can't. So the trauma patients go that way. Medical patients, we've taken them there all the time. I mean, even when I heard this was going on, I called in and I go, what the hell is going on here? So to answer your question a little bit more specifically, this is a declaration declaring that they are creating a public health emergency by closure of the hospital. Kind of boils down a little bit, but it goes on a little bit. I think the other towns have done this.
Air has, Pepperell has, and Townsend has, and I believe.
Groton has not, yet most of their patients go there.
I believe they're all, I believe Groton and others in the region are planning to do the same.
Yeah.
Basically calling on the governor, the director of public, commissioner of Department of Public Health, et cetera, to declare a public health emergency. And then, let's see.
Doesn't that open up like federal funding to relieve budgetary pressure, basically?
What this does is also develop a permanent transition, request that they develop a permanent transition plan to keep the hospital open. And that they at least adhere to the 120-day closure period per state law.
But for whatever reason, the bankruptcy judge overruled all that, right?
no, they keep postponing the bankruptcy hearings.
I thought they made one motion.
I thought they made a
I think
motion.
they did one, and then now I think they went to the next level.
And it got postponed again.
Did it? Okay, I didn't see that, but I know I'd seen that the judge said, keep this rolling forward. I was like,
I
that's
think
not
it's
good.
like the third time they've postponed the date.
Keep,
That's what I thought I read this morning.
it's scary.
Anyway, all right. Okay, very good. Last thing is the state primary election warrant.
This document needs all three signatures, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I have copies.
Okay.
State primary election warrant. We need to vote this through.
Yep.
Nothing else to say, so I'm gonna move to post a warrant